Hi, it's Jan Beta, and today I have something a little bit unusual for this channel, something I have never done before, so please don't take this as a tutorial, maybe take it as a try of explaining what I'm doing, and it's not necessarily the way to do this, just as a disclaimer, because it's the first time I ever tried this. These are my JBL Control 1 speakers that I really love. I got these for free basically when I bought a larger PA a while back. And these were just lying around, and the person I bought the PA from said I could have them, I could just take them for free. They are missing the grills that usually cover these, but these JBL Control 1 speakers are not the worst, and I used these as my test speakers. They're not very big, this is my hand in comparison, so really nice size, and they have a decent sound for the size. Yeah, you can, they are pretty well balanced. You can hear if something's wrong with an amplifier from the frequency response pretty nicely on these. Yeah, these obviously, as you've probably already noticed, have a problem. The problem, which is a common problem in these speakers and many other speakers, that this foam around the cone here has degraded to an extent that in this case it just crumbles, and yeah, it's really important to have that. I mean, it works like this. It is important to have this closed, at least semi-airtight, so that you can move the air. That's how a speaker works. It's just pushing air in the frequencies that it's supposed to reproduce. So if this has holes in it, obviously there's an air gap, and it can't work correctly. And also this helps holding the speaker in place for a bit, and of course it prevents dust from getting in there and stuff like that. So it is an integral part of the speaker, and it's broken on this one. So I'm going to try to replace the polyurethane, I think, foam around the speaker here, and around the other one too, because that also has a hole in the bottom here. So to be clear, this is just something that happens. It does just, this material just degrades with age and basically gets brittle, and sometimes it gets gooey. All kinds of stuff happen to this plastic material basically. This doesn't happen that much on speakers that have like a rubber surround, which is way more sturdy. But of course that makes the frequency response differ a bit, because it's going to weigh a bit more. There are kits for this to replace these foam thingies with rubber, but I won't recommend using them because they change basically they change the weight of the membrane, which of course affects the sound. Probably if you're not too keen on getting the best sound out of these and just using them for some I don't know, for something that you don't need the best sound quality for, you're going to get away with the rubber replacement, but I'm going to go with foam like it was originally intended for these. And for that purpose I bought this kit with two of these foam rings and glue. I got this. I don't remember where exactly I bought this, but you can just search eBay. That's, I think, where I got this for JBL Control 1 or whatever speaker you have, foam replacement kit, and you're going to find this pretty quickly. You can also, of course, which is probably cheaper, I just wanted to make sure I got the right dimensions. If you know the dimensions that your speaker needs, the exact width of this, you can of course just use something from a more general mail order kind of store or something that has these things in different sizes. This was 10 euros or so, so yeah, it's probably worth it. So I just went with this. So the first step, before we can apply these is obviously to get the old ones out, which can be a bit of a tedious job. On these we have to remove the whole front plate basically, because these are, they screw in, the screws are on the front but they are screwed in from the bottom, so the speaker itself is behind this front plate. By the way, these are really sturdy plastic. So we have 6 hex screws, I think size 3, around the perimeter. And I'm going to need a bit more torque here. I'm using my iFixit kit, which I always use because it has all the bits for every screw in existence, or nearly. Probably not every screw in existence, but very often I find what I need in that kit. Wow. Maybe I'm going to need to use something else for this. Okay, these are the screws. Let's get the rest of the screws out. Well, actually, let's use another tool. This is just a bit too small for the job, I guess. Need more torque. Yeah, that's more like it. So this is glued in, I believe, pretty sturdily. So yeah, this is a bit gooey, but we can get it out. There we go. Okay, so these particular ones are JBL Control 1C, it seems. At least that's what it says on the speaker. So yeah, the polarity is marked, so that's good. Just going to remove these. If I can. There we go. Wow, that was on there really tightly. Well done, JBL. Okay, let's remove the other ones. Just gonna mark that blue one. It's actually marked red on the speaker, which makes sense. The other one is black, but yeah. I think these are different width. Yeah, they are. So you can't really wire it up the wrong way. So okay, this part, let's have a look inside, but we're not going to need for this. That's all the electronics that's in there. Speaker terminal is right on the back there. And these bulbs, which are these are actually light bulbs basically, are used to compensate for when this is overpowered. That's really common in like PA speakers and stuff. You just add a little light bulb that if the speakers get too much juice, basically it lights up and dispenses the energy that way and doesn't affect the speaker or damage the speaker. So yeah, that's a way of doing that actually. This just divides the frequencies between the woofer and the tweeter, basically. Yeah, this is a very basic thing, I guess. But it works very well, very effective. And there's no, I'm a bit, I don't know why there's no foam in there, but then again, it's like a, yeah. Maybe you could even improve the sound a bit by adding some foam. But we're not going to do that because they sound fine. Even in this state, they still sound pretty decent, actually. So now, obviously, we have to remove the whole speaker here, which is screwed in from the front side. Could probably have removed the screws before. We have to hold this in place while unscrewing it. The nuts on the other side are not glued on, which I initially thought they were just glued on. And you always have to be a bit careful because, of course, there's a large magnet here, which yeah, basically sucks every little nut towards it as soon as it's loose. So be wary of that. Okay, we should be able to pull this out now. It's glued a bit on the sides to make it more airtight. Could use something to get it loose a bit. Hang on. So I'm trying to use this flathead screwdriver from my Victorinox knife to get it a bit loose. Yeah, which works. Just be careful to not damage the plastic or bend it too much. This is glued in, so we have to get it out to get to the foam actually. Wow. In this case, this is a bit too well done, JBL. There we go. Okay, that's the part we're looking at. Okay, so here we are, and as you can see, this just crumbles away, basically. It's high time I do this. I was actually using these. Yeah, let me just remove the foam as good as I can. And you want to use like a flat spudgery tool to do this because, of course, it's all glued in place. Oh, okay, it's not glued that heavily in place. So this is like a thicker foam, but these actually have that integrated in the rest of the foam. Yeah, in this case, I'm just going to remove as much of the foam here as I can with all the tools at hand. This is a plastic cone. In some speakers this is made of paper. So in this case I'm going to use some kind of solvent, I guess, like isopropanol or maybe acetone for getting rid of the glue, because you want to get rid of as much of the old stuff as possible. And of course also of the glue residue, because you want to have the new foam lie very flat on the speaker to have the best frequency response that you possibly can have, and have it as close to the original as possible. So this is a tedious job. You might want to use something sharper than this. I'm just figuring out how much the glue sticks here. It's pretty nasty actually. You don't want to damage the membrane or any parts below there. So take your time, which is what I'm going to try. Oh, by the way, as you can see, this also is a bit dented here. This is just a dust cap that doesn't have really... It just prevents dust from getting into where the actual coil and the magnet is, which is down here. Okay, so this is kind of a tedious job, obviously. And we want to get the foam off of here as well, of course, which is glued from the back side to the membrane here. Yeah, I'm just going to nibble away at this a bit further and see how it goes. And I think I'm just going to use isopropanol alcohol to try and remove the glue a bit. You might want to use a chisel or something for that. That's a bit sharper, pointier. I'm actually going to try to use some lighter fluid, I think, to get the glue off. It's really stubborn. And you want to be careful to not dissolve any of the rest of the speaker, I guess. So that top part looks good enough for me. Now for the more tedious part of removing the stuff from this thing here. I think I'm primarily going to use my hands because it's really easy to damage this. Yeah, let's see. How am I going to do this? So let's try to get most of the stuff off the best we can. That would be a lot easier to remove. If that was on top of the speaker actually. So I'm just going in there with my hands basically and trying to nibble it away. You can also just buy new speakers, by the way, if this is too tedious for you, or have someone do it, but that's probably not worth it for speakers that are like, I think you can get them for like 70, 80 euros or something like that. They're not the most expensive speakers in the world. That's why probably one of the most widespread speakers in the world. You can't go wrong with them, really. Okay, I think that wasn't too bad, actually. That came off really nicely, better than I expected, at least. You want to be sure that you don't bend the membrane too much, because yeah, it's basically, I think it's coated paper, so you can leave scars, like I did for a bit. I'm not sure if that's just inconsistencies of the surface. Yeah, anyway, I've got to be very careful with this and try to not dent it too much. Actually, peeling it off didn't go too badly, actually. Okay, let's clean this mess up and see if we can glue in the new foam surround. The more patient you are, the better this is going to get. Because I think cleaning it up is the most important part, really. Don't want this to be sticky in the end. Okay. Yeah, this actually looks good. Got all the foam off there. Okay, nice. Yeah, let's try and put in the new foam. Okay, let's see how this foam fits here. Nice, okay, doesn't look too bad. Of course we have to get the inner ring under the membrane here. It shouldn't be much of a problem, really. So, and I think what I want to do, you want to achieve that this can still travel freely. And in this case, it's still moving freely. The coil basically travels in a small gap. These seem to have quite some play, so it's easier to do. Some speakers don't have much play, and it's more tedious to get this aligned correctly. This one seems to be pretty easy to do. Let's see if we can, yeah, let's just use this thing again, try to get it below the speaker there. It's quite elastic, so it shouldn't be that bad. Really? Just don't want to damage the foam. Because that would be messing up the whole project. Because the whole point was getting new foam. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's not too bad. Of course, they have to, it's still a bit sticky because there's still a tiny amount of glue residue. I want to center this. yeah. I think I want to glue the inner part first. Just going to center this so that you can actually feel the coil. If you angle it, if you only push on this side, you can feel it crashing into the gap there on the sides. You want this to be able to travel really freely. Okay, so let me see. We need to get under there. I think this might even just be wood glue. It smells just like wood glue, which would be a good glue for this purpose because it's a tiny bit elastic, and it when it dries, it's clear. Yeah, let's try to get this under there. I guess with a small brush would be a good way. Yeah, maybe we just bend it up and put some on there. Yeah, that's a good idea, I guess. Let's see. I'm just going to bend this up and put a bit of glue on there every time. And of course you want to have the whole perimeter. Let's just put a bit of glue or something like this. We have plenty of glue anyway. So I guess it's not an important thing to household with the glue. Don't want to miss a spot because it should be as airtight as possible. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I made a bit of a mess there. Yeah, it should be fine. You want to make sure that this can travel freely if you push from all sides at once. And then just let it dry for a while. I left this to dry for about half an hour now, so it's already sticking. So because I want to do the other side, so I can start with the other speaker. Because this needs a couple of hours to fully dry, I believe. Let's see. I'm just going to do the outside the same way. Just going to put some of the glue here. Yeah, that's more than enough. That's a lot of glue. Doesn't hurt to have too much. So now the way I'm going to do this is basically the same way. I'm just going to lift this up a bit. And I think, yeah, I want to just apply some here around. Just applying it to the metal part, I think, which is going to be easier. So there definitely are more professional glues than this, which really feels like it's wood glue. But hey, whatever works. And this was cheap, as I said. I'm just applying kind of a try to make this an even layer of glue. Yeah, now you want to make sure that this doesn't make any sounds knocking on the walls of the tube it's traveling in, so this seems to be perfect. Okay, so that should be it. I'm just applying some very light pressure so the glue can spread a bit more. And then we are just going to leave this to dry for a couple of hours. Oh, my knife got attracted by the magnet here. Okay, while we wait for the glue to dry, let's just start working on the second speaker. So this is obviously going to be the same all over again, so I'm just going to fast forward this and yeah, let you stop whenever I encounter something that might be interesting. So I'm basically getting under there with my finger and rolling it between my fingers. It's difficult to explain. I'm just pulling this finger, the index finger, up basically and pushing with the thumb against it and making a little roll of material that I can go off there. Basically I'm just nibbling this off. Yeah, I think you could be using your fingernails as well. Okay, it's approximately 5 hours later, and I think the glue is mostly dry. Yeah, definitely sticks. That's good. Okay, I think we can at least put these back together and put them back in the case. So yeah, let's do that. So I kind of want to scrape off some of the glue on the side here and add new glue. That doesn't really work that well. Yeah, we're just going to get a bit of it off. And we get a bit off from inside here as well. It should seal pretty nicely anyway, without any extra glue, I guess. Yeah, look at that. Looks good as new, except for the dust cap here being a bit broken. Otherwise, this is going to work nicely. Okay, now it's just a matter of putting the screws back in. Reassembling the whole thing nicely. You can actually get these really tight with just holding the nut with your fingers, basically, because it locks in place a bit automatically. That's going to be enough. You don't want these too tight, because otherwise you're going to compress the foam to an extent where it gets brittle again and breaks around the perimeter probably. So this is perfect. Just hold the nut and screw. This is going to be great. Okay. Hands up who remembers where the connections go. Okay, so the blue one is this one. Smaller black one is this one. Let's try not to cross them too much. It probably doesn't make a difference, but yeah, still a good idea to separate them as much as possible, I guess. Very nice. Okay, and there's kind of a gasket around this. Don't know if you can see that very well, but there's a little small gasket to make it more airtight. It's actually really good design. You want these as airtight as possible, except for, of course, this base hole. So it's okay to tighten these quite a bit. But you don't need to go overboard too much. Yay! Let's do the other one. This may actually be a date code. 39th week. 1999, 39th week. Would also correspond to this. I don't know if you can see that. There often are these kinds of date codes in plastic molds. And there's a little arrow pointing to the 99. This one is pointing to 8. And this one is pointing to 0. And this one is pointing to 6. So it's probably 1999, August, 8 month, 0, 6. August 6th, 1999. It's probably when these were made. So according to these readings, these are more than 20 years old. So it's kind of okay for these foam gaskets to degrade with that age. Oh, other way around actually. I think it goes like this. Yeah, there we go. In go the screws. Ta-da! Good as new, or good as when they were still intact, at least. They're not going to look new anytime soon. Maybe I can buy these grills again. I guess they're available as a replacement part, but I don't really need them, I guess. It seems like I at least didn't make it worse than before. So let's try if they actually work again and sound better than with the holes all around the perimeter. I hope so. So, and here's where they're actually going to be living for the next couple of years, probably. I made a whole episode about this. This is actually a microwave oven. This is a Technics hi-fi with a receiver and a CD player that I actually salvaged from the trash. I made a whole episode about that on my Patreon, nudge nudge, which you can see if you support me with $5 or more on my Patreon. I'm just going to play a tune here. Yeah, and it seems like they're just working beautifully again. They have a lot more bass frequencies now, of course, because they are able to move more air in a more precise way. Yeah, very happy with how this turned out. Hope you liked this, hope you found it informative. Maybe you are going to do something like this. It's not rocket science. I did this for the first time and it worked. Absolutely no problems whatsoever. Except for my hands being a bit sticky now, but I guess that happens. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope to see you again on this channel. There's a lot more retro computery stuff coming up pretty soon, and I also have some hi-fi stuff in the works. I don't know when that is going to be finished. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'm Jan Beta. See you next time. Bye. Microwave ovens actually fit the size of the hi-fi stack perfectly. And they have a turntable.